We've been taught to chase outcomes. Chase the job, chase the title, chase the money. We measure our lives by results. What we've won, what we've built, how others see us. But very few of us stop to ask a deeper question. Why do we pursue these things in the first place? What drives us to get up when we've failed? What pulls us forward when doubt creeps in? The answer isn't in the strategy or even the skill. It starts in something far more foundational, our attitude. You see, attitude is not decoration. It's not simply about being cheerful or confident. Attitude is your internal strategy. It's how you interpret the world around you. It shapes every decision, every conversation, every reaction. When everything around you is uncertain, your attitude becomes the one thing you still get to choose. That's power. The power, real power, is the power to know that the power is the power. Because in a world that constantly shifts, those who win aren't always the most talented or the most educated. They're the ones who've built a mindset that can weather storms. We often think of attitude as something people are born with. She's just naturally positive, or he's got a winning mentality. But that belief is dangerous. It lets us off the hook. The truth is, a winning attitude is not something you inherit. It's something you cultivate. Like any skill, it's built through repetition, through reflection, and through relentless self-awareness. But before we can cultivate it, we have to understand what it really is. Your attitude is not just how you feel, it's how you frame. It's the lens through which you interpret challenge, conflict, or even opportunity. If two people lose a job, one might see it as failure, the other might see it as freedom. The same event, two different responses. The only difference? Attitude. So, where does a winning attitude come from? It begins with why. Why do you show up? Why do you work hard? Why do you want to grow? People with a winning attitude are deeply rooted in purpose. They're not chasing recognition. They're not obsessed with results. They're driven by something within, something bigger, something meaningful. When your why is clear, your how gets sharper. You're not just going through the motions anymore. You're on a mission. That clarity gives you resilience. Because when life punches you in the gut, and it will, it's not your goals that keep you standing, it's your reason. Purpose breathes life into persistence. And let me tell you something we don't say enough. The way you think matters more than you realize. Not just in a philosophical sense, but practically. The stories you tell yourself in moments of difficulty become the reality you live in. If your internal dialogue is full of self-doubt, you will act small. If it's rooted in belief, you will take risks others won't. That's not delusion, it's mindset. And mindset sets the ceiling on your potential. People with a winning attitude don't ignore setbacks. They don't pretend things are perfect. In fact, they often see more clearly than others. But they've made a choice, a deliberate choice, not to let fear define their narrative. They choose curiosity over judgment, growth over pride, ownership over blame. Let me pause here and say this. This kind of attitude doesn't come from motivational quotes or morning affirmations alone. It comes from experience. It comes from deciding again and again to see challenges as opportunities to lead yourself. When you get passed over for a promotion, do you stew in frustration or do you get better? When someone criticizes you, do you take it personally or do you look for what's useful? These micro decisions shape your identity. They wire your brain. They build the emotional muscle of a winner. Think of athletes at the top of their game. Of course they train their bodies, but the elite, they train their minds even harder. because they know something that applies to all of us. When pressure hits, your default mindset takes over. Not your knowledge, not your skill, your mindset. If your attitude hasn't been built for resilience, all the talent in the world won't matter. If your attitude hasn't been built for resilience, all the talent in the world won't matter. If your attitude hasn't been built for resilience, all the talent in the world won't. But here's the beautiful part. You're not stuck with the attitude you have today. You can build it, you can choose it every single day. But you have to begin with why. Without a clear reason to grow, you'll fall into the comfort of habits. You'll follow what's easy, not what's right. And slowly, without realizing it, you'll start playing not to lose, rather than playing to win. A winning attitude is not arrogance. It's not loud. It's not showy. It's grounded. It's focused. It carries quiet conviction. The kind that says, I know who I am. I know why I'm here, and I'm not leaving without giving my best. That kind of inner posture is magnetic. It influences the way you speak, the way you lead, the way you show up in the world. People follow those who believe in something deeper than the scoreboard. People follow those who stand for something more than success. So let me leave you with this. The world doesn't need more people who are just trying to win. It needs more people who understand why they want to win. People who see attitude not as an accessory, but as the engine of their leadership, their growth, their impact. If you want to cultivate a winning attitude, don't start with tactics. Start with purpose. Start with why. Because when your why is strong enough, the rest takes care of itself. We often get caught up in the pursuit of the big win, the breakthrough moment, the leap forward. It's how we've been conditioned, go big or go home. We admire the overnight success, the viral explosion, the transformation that seems to happen in the blink of an eye. But if we stop and look closely, we realize something far more powerful is at work. Real progress doesn't happen all at once. It's built in the quiet moments, the small choices, the daily disciplines we often overlook. Momentum isn't created in a surge. It's created in a rhythm, a steady cadence of intentional actions that over time compound into something significant. The irony is, the smallest methods, those little decisions we're quick to dismiss, are often the very foundation of a winning attitude. They don't make headlines, but they make all the difference. We tend to look for motivation to strike us like lightning. We wait for inspiration before we move. But the people who consistently grow, the ones who cultivate a truly resilient mindset, don't rely on inspiration to take action. They act and let inspiration catch up. That's the secret. They understand that momentum favors those who move. No matter how small the step, it's the movement that counts. Let's be clear. This isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. There's a big difference. Perfection says, do it right or not at all. Consistency says, show up, even if it's messy. One of the most overlooked truths in personal growth is that discipline is more powerful than motivation. Because discipline doesn't wait to feel ready. Discipline simply shows up. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't wake up every morning thinking, today I'm going to revolutionize my dental hygiene. You do it because it's routine, because it's part of your identity. Now imagine if your attitude got the same treatment, if every morning you spent even just 5 minutes checking in with yourself, shaping your mindset, reinforcing your purpose. That small habit, repeated over time, would transform how you lead, how you communicate, how you perform under pressure. The problem is we undervalue small things. We think if it's not hard, it's not worth it. But building a strong mindset isn't about heroics. It's about intentional repetition. It's about stacking simple practices that train your brain to respond rather than react. Practices like journaling for 5 minutes to process your thoughts. like taking a walk without your phone just to hear yourself think, like choosing to respond with patience when you're tempted to lash out. These aren't dramatic acts, but they are defining ones. Why do these small methods matter so much? Because every action reinforces a belief. When you choose to act with courage, even in a small moment, you reinforce the idea that you're someone who faces discomfort. When you commit to showing up, even when it's inconvenient, you reinforce the belief that you are dependable. Over time, those beliefs become your identity, and your identity drives your behavior. Small methods also help us build trust with ourselves, and self-trust is the core of confidence. You can't fake confidence for long. If you don't believe your own words, neither will anyone else. But when you've proven to yourself again and again that you will follow through, even in the little things, something shifts. You walk differently. You speak with clarity. You lead with conviction. Not because you're perfect, but because you're consistent. In a culture obsessed with instant gratification, the idea of slow, intentional growth feels almost radical. But that's where the edge is, because while others are chasing quick fixes, you're building something sustainable. While others are overwhelmed by the size of the goal, you're mastering the discipline of progress. And here's what's fascinating. Once you stack enough small wins, momentum begins to take over. Your energy increases, your belief expands, your tolerance for challenge grows. I've seen this play out in teams, in organizations, and individuals. The ones who rise are rarely the loudest or the most charismatic. They are the ones who do the small things with excellence. They are the ones who don't skip the basics. They are the ones who embrace the process not because they love every part of it, but because they trust what it's building in them. This is not about being robotic. It's about being deliberate. There's a difference. A winning attitude doesn't come from grinding mindlessly. It comes from doing small things on purpose. That purpose is what fuels momentum. That purpose is what gives even mundane actions meaning. Let me offer a challenge. Choose one small method, just one. Something you can do daily that aligns with the person you want to become. Maybe it's a morning mindset reset. Maybe it's 3 gratitudes before bed. Maybe it's asking one powerful question in every meeting. Whatever it is, make it yours, and commit to it not for a week, but for a season. Long enough to feel the compound effect. Long enough to trust the process. Because here's the truth, people don't rise to the level of their goals, they fall to the level of their systems. And your systems are made up of habits. Your habits reflect your attitude. And your attitude. That's your strategy. So the next time you're tempted to wait for the perfect moment, remember this. Momentum isn't something you wait for. It's something you build with every small action, every small decision, every small method. That's how a winning attitude grows, not in a single leap, but in 1,000 quiet steps. We like to think of ourselves as independent, as if we are entirely self-made. We tell ourselves that our mindset, our drive, our choices are all ours, unaffected by the world around us. But the truth is, we're not as autonomous as we believe. Every one of us is shaped quietly, persistently, by our environment. Not just the physical places we spend time in, but the people, the conversations, the culture we immerse ourselves in. If you want to cultivate a winning attitude, you cannot ignore the context you're cultivating it in. Because your environment doesn't just reflect who you are, it shapes who you become. Look around you. Every voice, every behavior, every standard in your environment is influencing what you believe is possible, what's normal, what's acceptable. If you surround yourself with cynicism long enough, you start to lower your expectations. If you're immersed in apathy, ambition starts to feel naive. On the other hand, when you're in a room where excellence is the standard, where growth is expected, where resilience is admired, you rise, you adapt, because we're wired to match the energy around us. Not consciously, not dramatically, just enough to fit in. It starts subtly. You hear someone complaining, you join in. Not because you believe it, but because you want to connect. You see someone settle and you think, maybe I'm asking for too much. And little by little, you adjust your beliefs. You lower the bar. You recalibrate what's realistic, not because of logic, but because of influence. the environment wins. That's why the most intentional people don't just protect their time, they protect their space. They're thoughtful about who they let in, what conversations they participate in, and what energy they allow to linger. Because they know your mindset doesn't operate in a vacuum. You could do all the journaling, all the affirmations, all the self-development, but if you go right back into a culture that contradicts your values, it won't stick. Not for long. You cannot grow in soil that kills your roots. You cannot dream in a space that punishes belief. And you cannot build a winning attitude while living in a losing culture. The two are incompatible. It's like trying to train for the Olympics in a room full of people who have already quit. Their energy affects yours. Their fear becomes your ceiling. Not because you're weak, but because you're human. Now, this doesn't mean you abandon everyone who thinks differently. It means you become aware. You become strategic. You stop pretending your environment is neutral and start designing it to support the mindset you're building. If you want to be more courageous, spend time with people who do hard things. If you want to grow your confidence, spend time with people who believe in something bigger than themselves. If you want to lead better, surround yourself with people who ask better questions, not just offer easy answers. Sometimes the change starts small, rearranging your workspace so it reflects who you want to become. Curating your digital space, your feed, your podcasts, your inbox, so you're exposed to ideas that stretch, not shrink you. Setting boundaries with people who drain your energy, not because you don't care about them, but because you care deeply about your purpose. These decisions aren't dramatic, they're deliberate. And over time, they reshape your belief system. Think about any person who's done something extraordinary. Somewhere in their story, there was a moment of risk, of uncertainty, and almost always there was someone else who believed in them just enough to keep them going. One voice, one example, one moment of support. That's the power of environment. It's not just a setting, it's a signal. It tells you what's possible, what's expected, what's safe. If you want to cultivate a winning attitude, you have to become a guardian of your space, and that starts by being honest. What kind of conversations are you having regularly? What kind of energy fills the rooms you walk into? Do you feel pulled forward or pulled down? Encouraged or exhausted? Inspired or indifferent? These are not small questions. They are diagnostic tools. Because environment always tells the truth, even when people don't. Now here's the other side. You're not just a product of your environment. You're also a contributor to it. Which means you don't just consume culture, you create it. Your presence either lifts or limits. Your energy either inspires action or invites passivity. Your attitude doesn't exist in isolation, it influences others. Which means you have the power to shape the environment just as much as it shapes you. So ask yourself, what kind of environment are you building? At work? At home? In your friendships? Are you speaking belief into others? Are you setting standards that challenge people to grow? Are you creating